We've got the Secretary of State for Defence, James Heappey, who joins us now. We say good morning to him. Mr. Heappey, good morning. So President Biden speaking overnight, and basically he's saying to Israel, I mean, he's an ally of Israel, obviously, but he's saying, please be careful in your ambitions if and when you invade Gaza. How would you reflect on that?
Well, I think that the British government has been similarly clear that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself. Of course it does. But so too, as a democracy, should it hold itself to a higher standard, and should it be wanting to comply with international humanitarian law?
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, that therein lies the conundrum, really, because how do they exercise their absolute right without dragging in civilians in the way that we are seeing? I mean, ultimately, people in Gaza are saying there is nowhere safe. The United Nations saying that this evacuation order is horrendous, that it's impossible, and that lots of people now are commentating, saying that the response is not proportionate. What's your view?
Well, look, there is safe haven. Israel has been clear that people move south below the Wadi, and that will put them out of reach of their planned operations. But let's be crystal clear. Israel is the democracy that is giving notice to civilians and asking them to move south. It is Hamas who uses civilians as human shields, and that is the key distinction here.
Mm.
Secretary of State, what's British involvement in all of this? Do we have any? In what way are we assisting Israel in this?
Well, our involvement is threefold. Firstly, we are planning and executing the evacuation of British citizens from the region should they wish to leave. There are opportunities to do that both from Tel Aviv, where a number of flights have now departed, but also we hope later today through the Rafah crossing on the border between Gaza and Egypt as well. Secondly, we have troops in the region as well as planes and soon ships. Their presence is to guard against a wider escalation of the conflict and to warn off other actors like Iran, for example, from getting involved. And then thirdly, we're offering support to Israel directly. Now, the nature of that is still to be decided, and clearly the Prime Minister will need to consider carefully any requests are made. But we have made the offer, and we wait to hear what the Israelis need of us.
And you'll be aware that senior Conservative colleague of yours, Crispin Blunt, has been warning that the government could well be being complicit in war crimes in the support of Israel in all of this. What is the government's response to that? Because, he's making some pretty serious allegations. He said the UK could be complicit in war crimes. Colleagues in Westminster may not be aware of the legal peril that they are in.
Yes, I mean, I think that we are acutely aware that in a situation like this, we need to be honest with Israel about our expectations. But to be frank, Israel is a democracy. Israel is a responsible actor. They have given notice to the population of Gaza. It is Israel that is trying to get the civilian population out of harm's way. It is Hamas who is insisting that they remain.
But it's the United Nations who have said that those notifications are impossible and horrific. But I just want to ask you about what Labour have been saying. They think that the UK government should be looking again at their aid support for Gaza. They note that the European Union have tripled their aid over the weekend. Is that something that's being considered?
Well, look, certainly the Prime Minister met with the King of Jordan yesterday, and he has had conversations with President Sisi as well. And the theme of those conversations was humanitarian support to the Palestinian population that are caught up between this dispute between Hamas and Israel. We will, of course, be seeking to work with partners in the region to support that humanitarian effort.
Right. What's going on in Rafah today, the crossing? What are we expecting there, and how does that affect British citizens?
Well, we've heard that the crossing may open today, and if it does, that will be an opportunity for foreign nationals to leave. We hope that that happens, but clearly that is not directly within our control.
I want to ask you about matters here in the UK. We've seen lots of protests, haven't we, over the weekend, and your colleague Suella Braverman coming out and saying that the police will come for you if you glorify terrorism. We've seen these images of two women with the paragliders, pictures of them on their back. That clearly is expressing support for a prescribed terrorist organisation. How can you reassure people this morning that the utmost is being done to prevent those sorts of things happening?
So look, I think that it is disgusting what we saw on in those pictures over the weekend. I understand everybody's right to protest. I understand everybody's right to have concern over the Palestinian people. I and the British government have concern over the Palestinian people as well. But I cannot think of any time when I was a soldier, nor now as a Minister in Defence, where I have ever taken any joy in the loss of human life of those that I consider to be my adversaries. And yet what we've seen in these protests over the weekend is people in London doing exactly that. Now, they are entitled to their opinion about the plight of the Palestinians. They are not entitled to celebrate the work of Hamas, a prescribed terrorist organisation. And I think that those scenes were absolutely sickening, and I'm sure the police will want to act on them.
OK. Secretary of State, I'm full of admiration for you this morning, soldiering on with that Nick that you've got, that shaving cut. I really...
An hour ago, Eamon, and I have been despairing as the clock has ticked down to the interview. But there we go.
I had one myself this morning, and it's so embarrassing, and you were so gracious the way you were dealing with it there. Maybe something like Vaseline or something on top of it might help.
I just want to get quickly before
He's got something.
There you got some Vaseline. Yeah. That's a very good idea. I'm just hearing in the last few moments, Mr. Heappey, that the US, Israel and Egypt have agreed a ceasefire in southern Gaza, which will begin at 6 a.m. GMT, which will coincide with the reopening of the Rafah border crossing. This is according to two Egyptian security sources. Meanwhile, Hamas media say they have no information about any humanitarian truce being agreed. Just your reaction to that breaking line, first of all.
Well, I think that matches our expectations that there is a discussion ongoing about the option to open the Rafah crossing. But as I said in my answer a minute or so ago, it is beyond our control. And so I don't want to pretend that we have any certainty that it will happen. Clearly, it is something that we hope will happen today, and that will give an opportunity for people to leave and for some aid to flow in.
Well, we'll give you an opportunity to leave, apply your Vaseline and a sticking plaster, whatever it takes. Really appreciate your concentration and what you've had to reveal to us today. Secretary of State for Defence, James Heappey there. Thank you very much.
Yes.